Life is a cycle and we go through these loops to learn and love. But often when we find ourselves in these negative loops, we have to identify the starting point because every negative season we go through has a starting point. And sometimes that starting point was simply a thought. And the next thing you know, we have created a negative loop that we cannot get out of. It could be so disappointing because we go through constant disappointment with ourselves. That's something I think we can all agree on, is that we beat ourselves up. It's important to keep ourselves in check. When we are going through a negative cycle, it's very important to watch how we are conversating with ourselves, because we might have got into that negative cycle through negative conversations with ourselves. Who do you spend the most time talking to every single day? Probably yourself. We are in our own minds.